I'd like to call to order the Parks Board meeting for Monday, the 20th. Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Pike, will you do that for us, sir? Of course. You're the one that does it,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was waiting to see who's going to say that.
I'll say it every time.
I like it. That's good. Do we have any citizens' comments down there? We do not. Thank you, sir. I will accept, if you've looked over the minutes, I'll accept a move to Mr. Pike, second. Mr. Head, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Nobody? Thank goodness.
Mr. Head.
Who was second?
Mr. Head.
Mr. Head. I'm sorry, I'm not speaking like Andy used to now. We have a presentation. Mr. Long, you want to handle that for us, sir?
Thank you. Jameson, will you come up here, please? All right, we have a special presentation for Jameson Wharton tonight, and I only have one chance of doing this, and I want to do it right, so I wrote it all out. So last month, the park staff and the board introduced a new sportsmanship program called Honor the Game, where we'll look to identify and recognize individuals that demonstrate positive character on the playing field. The leagues that operate within our parks will provide opportunities to promote the sportsmanship program and recognize individuals with their own leagues. In addition to our committee, we will select 2 nominees annually that will go above and beyond for the Sportsmanship of the Year Award, officially known as the Jameson Wharton Award. This is Jameson here. Before me, I have the City Certificate of Recognition, which reads, 2019 Jameson Wharton Sportsmanship Award. Jameson Wharton desire to help others began at an early age. At 10 years old, he created Football for the Cure, an annual event aimed to raise funds for cancer research. During the 4th annual Football for the Cure event, Jameson, along with 25 of his teammates, raised over $1,200, with all proceeds going towards cancer research. Jameson hopes to increase awareness and participation within the Hendersonville community with, through the Football for the Cure event. Jameson serves as a positive example among our youth of Hendersonville through his dedication, inspiration, and guidance to all. The Hendersonville Parks Department and Honor the Game Sportsmanship Committee are honored to name this award after Jameson Wharton. The Jameson Wharton Sportsmanship Award will recognize and honor future Hendersonville Parks youth who display the character, spirit, and sportsmanship as Jameson has, while positively impacting the Hendersonville community. Jameson, I, along with many of others present here, have been impacted by your story. Most everyone here knows someone that has been affected by cancer in some way. While we all hope for a cure, you sought to do more and put our hope into action. Through your event, you have shown leadership, qualities that very few people, much less youth, display. Our hope is we are able to discover 100 more Jamesons that share your same spirit and leadership through the Honor the Game program. While we honor you tonight, I challenge you to continue leading and impacting your peers. You have such a bright, exciting future ahead, and we all look forward to seeing how you use these awesome qualities. It is truly the honor of the park staff and the board to celebrate you and the differences you make in our community. So, that's for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I'd like to invite the board and staff to come down. I'd like to get a few pictures with Jameson.
You sure you want everybody in the picture?
Mr. Heston?
Yeah, I'm short. I'll stand up here. That's a good idea. Stay right up here. I'll just shake your hand like that. Keep going, keep going. Good job, young man.
I'll let y'all sit down real quick. Okay, I just want to say that it's an honor for you guys to name this award after me and everything. Like, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, buddy. With all that's going on in the world right now, it's good to see that. It's really good to see that, and we're sure proud of him. Under old business, Parks project updates, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Try to be brief here. The volunteer park concession stand has been up and running. We have also now poured the concrete sidewalk. We're going to be working on some backfill and little landscaping things, but that's wrapping up. I actually met today with the company that wrote the last grant for us to get the concession stand about kind of where we head from here. The next big grant we'll have a chance to get will be in 2020, April of 2020. So that will be something on the horizon. Hopefully we can maybe either finish out that park or move on to another park at this point. You will be seeing at a capital projects meeting and at a Parks Board meeting in the near future a plan to move inline hockey rinks to Volunteer Park. That will be coming before you, then it will go to capital projects, it will go to Public Works, and it will go to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. So that hopefully will take place within the next month or two. That does not necessarily have to be completed during the budget process. The way it will be funded does not have to be at the same time as the current budget for next fiscal year. So it could be a month or two, but that will be coming before you. I know several of you have asked about that. A project that's been going on since for at least 3 years. I think we have an agreement in place with a company to negotiate on the city's behalf for a cell tower in the park, which will help communication, as you all are aware. We're waiting on the mayor to get with that company now and I guess get the last details so that they can go negotiate for us. We've probably met at least 10 times over the last 6 months to get the details hammered out about this. We also have things coming to, I can't really say company names, but we have a couple of local companies who have helped us negotiate with some of the providers for internet services where we can hopefully start to get access into the park for better Wi-Fi coverage as well. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. Public Works is helping us with the plan for flood protection at Mary's Magical Place. Once we can get inline moved and we get a plan in place there, we will do everything we can to protect the playground and the rest of Veterans Park as well. That is also going to the mayor for his signature in the next couple of days through Public Works. We started on Field 1 by the football field. That's a flood project from damages there. We're renovating it, getting it back up to speed, also creating it to where we can play 60-foot mound and 90-foot bases as well. So it will be a true multi-purpose field at this point. We will be, over the next few days, replacing all of the wooden benches that we have left in Drakes Creek with metal ones. That'll be a good little upgrade, and we'll also be going out for bid for irrigation and landscaping project at Friendship Island, which is right there off Gallatin Road. We want to get that to where when people drive by it, it kind of pops out at them, and the irrigation hasn't worked there for about 15 years, so hopefully we can get that back up and running. That is all the park projects for today. sure there'll be some more tomorrow, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. If anybody has any questions, I'll take whatever.
I think I was supposed to say that.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Any questions? No. Thank you, Mr. Gilly.
Yes, sir.
Soccer committee discussion, Mr. Gilly?
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. At our last meeting, we discussed what the members of, as you all are aware, we had gave an update on where we stood as far as having 2 members of each soccer board along with our staff work together, trying to come up with a committee that would get everybody working together. Kind of gave you an update on where that stood. You all had several questions. Some of you all wanted to meet with those representatives before tonight, which occurred this past Wednesday. I don't know what questions you want to ask of me or of the soccer clubs or how you want to handle that. There's nothing I don't think really here to vote upon. Because as it stands right now, I don't think it is the desire of either club to move forward with the committee that our department proposed. So I'm not real sure the direction as far as that goes. I guess at this point, we're just going to have to do the best we can as a staff to continue to work independently with 2 different organizations. I'm not a big fan of that, but I think that's where we are right now. You all, there's no presentation because I gave you all the information last week. So I guess the soccer club groups have board members here. If you all, as a group, have any questions for them, I guess that's why they're here. So I appreciate all them coming. And then if the people that met with them, I don't know what you want to do. I'm not a board member, so.
Still like you, though.
Thank you.
Andy, briefly, for everybody concerned, what seems to be the stumbling block, in your opinion, that keeps these 2 clubs from agreeing on a central source?
I think that's a better question for them. I can just tell you that 2 members of each board and our staff worked for months and met and came up with basically 5 bullet points of things that we thought that we could all agree upon to work together, as far as a central assigner for officials, a central assigner for game schedules, working together on player and coaching development, coming up with a capital project improvement plan that everybody could hopefully agree upon. There was one more. I don't have that right in front of me right this minute, but that was not an acceptable plan. So I don't know the exact stumbling. There's, to call a spade, it was told that certain bylaws didn't allow for that type of oversight, that committee to occur. Feelings on both sides that go very deeply that I don't think people even currently on the boards even know existed, but they have found out now that they probably still do. At some point, here's what's going to happen. At some point, we only have a certain number of soccer fields in our whole city, period. So at some point, we've all got to work together anyway. And it was, I'll repeat what I said at the last meeting. When I started in August, I watched our staff in the office struggle on a daily basis to communicate and gather what needed to be gathered to effectively allow us to know what was going on with soccer on a daily basis. So it was our job, I felt, to figure out a way to get everybody on the same page and simplify it within our office if we are going to allow people to continue to operate leagues that, quite frankly, we could provide if we wanted to, but we don't, just like we don't with baseball or football. We allow other civic groups to do that. So if we're going to continue to do that, which is great, we have to make it to where our staff knows what's going on and is able to plan always.
I see by this handout we've got that we had a committee that met with these. Do y'all have any kind of a summary? Do you have anything to add to what Andy's already said? Or
Well, the first question I got is, we did ask for something and we received it an hour and 25 minutes before the day's meeting and was asked on Wednesday of last week. So we got this an hour and 25 minutes before we could read it. So I do kind of have a little bit of a problem with that. Secondly, what would the HSC like the Connect Committee to look like? HSC was never been asked the question what a Connect Committee would present to them and told this was not happening. Okay? So you asked for volunteers, correct? From their board to come to this committee?
Well, no, number 3 on this list is I take exception with, to be honest with you. It says what you just said. This was presented to groups from both soccer boards in a joint meeting. And then from there, we asked to go and present it to both boards, which we did. From there, it was asked if we could continue the conversation and make some changes, so we all agreed to send representatives from both boards to work together, which they did with our staff to come up with, like I said earlier, a list of about 5 bullet points that 6 people left a room and agreed that we thought that sounded okay, and we thought we could get everybody on board with that. So to say that nobody had input and was told that this was happening, false. And I take exception with that.
I can summarize the meeting from this past Wednesday. It's centered around the proposal and some of the details that would have served as a foundation to bring the 2 largest groups towards a unified approach on behalf of the players and the families in our city. And after almost 2 hours, we left with nothing.
Mike, do you have anything to add to that, sir?
I'll just second what they both said. 2 hours, and we could have stayed home and gained just as much as we did in those 2 hours. I will reiterate what I said the other night. It's about the kids. It's not about parents. It's not about board members. It's not about anything other than the kids. Without the kids, none of that exists. And those fields can be used for other uses. This city's growing, and we got to all learn to work together, or it's going to be a huge problem.
Well, I guess have we hit loggerheads here? Are we stuck, or what?
As far as our department's proposal to bring these 2 clubs together, it's at an impasse. There's not much we can do right this minute. Because it's not, I mean, some of you all have been around way longer than I have. And you've seen all this happen before at this level, and some of it less and some of it more.
I think Mr. Bowler brought it up at the last meeting. The way I kind of see it here is that if you relegate it back to baseball or football or whatever, if the ownership and the players can't agree on how they're going to run the programs, then they bring in an arbitrator that would do that for the good of both of us. Do we have the opportunity, do we have the right to do that, in your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, the way we had the Connect Committee structured was we had 2 members of one board, 2 members of another board, and a member of the Parks Department staff who could constantly serve as the arbitrator. But that wasn't acceptable for the Parks Board and the Parks Department staff to be involved.
Which I don't, I'm kind of like, I'm kind of like Mr. Perry over here. And I agree with them. It would be fine to come up with an arbitrator, athletic-wise, but separated from either side to do that. And I don't know, I'll ask again, I don't know that we have the right.
I don't mean to interrupt you. That was tried in the past at the request of Mr. Lamar before I came on board, when he came back.
Okay, and why
Because
did that fail?
that's when this conversation started. And our staff here can correct me if I'm wrong, but when Mr. Lamar came back, he had been charged by the mayor, like I was as an alderman, to try to get with both soccer clubs and get everybody back on the same page.
Okay, if that has.
And when Mr. Lamar came back, he went to the soccer clubs and asked that they have a member of each of their boards attend each other's meetings so that everybody would know what's going on. And that lasted for about 1 month.
Okay, so
I'm just,
if Dave did that, though, if Dave was the leader of that, why did it not succeed? Because it's my understanding that an arbitrator is the final word.
that wasn't necessarily, I don't guess, an arbitrator as much as it was his effort to put somebody involved to get people working together.
Exactly, but I hate to be redundant.
And I know what you're saying.
Yeah, we need, in my opinion, I mean, the rest of the board can talk about it, but in my opinion, we need, I think I'll preface it by saying this is the city's park system. The city owns all of this, and we govern all of this. So that's one side. And the arbitration system, again, I'm being redundant, but I'll say it again. The arbitration system would be a couple over here, somebody that's not one of us in here going, okay, you give me your side, all right, you guys give me your side, I'll have a ruling next Thursday. And that's the way, in my business world, that's the way it has always been, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
would it be prudent to put this to the athletic committee and let the athletic committee come back with recommendations in the next park board meeting to decide whether an arbitrator is what needs to happen that's independently, which in my suggestion, if that is what it is, both of the groups have to pay to fund for the arbitrator if nobody does it voluntarily.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, whether or not somebody's field usage is taken away in the city park because they can't get along and they can't come up with things that we've asked, or whatever other recommendations might the athletic committee bring. So that would be something that I would think that the athletic committee could take. And if either one of these groups would like to come to that meeting when the athletic committee meets with their recommendations to what they would like to see happen, which obviously we tried the other night, try to have at least one more last shot before we get down to the nuts and bolts of this, before something happens that I don't think anybody in this room or watching wants to see happen.
No, and Mike has already, I mean, I'm using a lot of the floor. Mike's already said it. And this goes back to that wonderful thing that y'all gave us last meeting about the standards of parents and coaches. And, of all the stuff was in that thing, the thing that stuck with me the most was very at the end when it said, this is not for us. This is not for you and me, and this is for all the kids. And as far as kids went, I think they'd probably be happy just going out in the backyard and choosing teams. So it's really ridiculous that we as adults, and again, I'm speaking from ignorance because I don't know all the sides, but it's a shame that we as adults cannot come to an agreement on what is best for the kids in our park. And I think, Jimmy, I think that's a fine idea. I think it's a great idea. I don't think it needs to be a motion. Do you think so? Okay, that's
probably.
fine. I'll accept a motion to have I'm not going to make the motion. I'll accept the motion.
Well, then I make the motion that this be taken to the athletic committee to come up with a proposal on what should be brought back to the board at the next meeting in June on what action should be taken. Or
I have a motion, Mr. Head, a second from Mr. Pike. Any more discussion on that? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Absolutely not. But, yeah, it's a shame. I personally have spent all of my years in this park trying to make sure all the kids had fun. And we have situations where they can't, so it kind of makes me feel bad.
Mr. Chairman, who was the second to that?
Mr. Pike was second. I'm sorry. I'm getting like Andy. I don't do so good here. It's not like you, Andy, but Andy Griffin. I'm sorry to put y'all in the same,
So
or me in the same.
just to clarify for the soccer people that are here, we will have a meeting of the athletic committee in the coming weeks, and we'll notify them when they want to be there, if they want to be there, to discuss what that athletic committee will make a recommendation to this board how to proceed.
And as I see that athletic committee, I see that that's a good group to do it. With the exception of Mr. Richards, he's not here anymore, so we'll have to fix that tonight, I expect.
So do we need to make a motion in new business to replace Mr. Richardson?
That's on the agenda.
All right. Under new business, hot air balloons at Sumner Fest, Ms. Hawkins and Mr. Sinks. That's good enough with me. I'm in 41 years. I'll just do what you tell me, okay? State your name, please.
Hello, my name is Kendall Sinks.
Okay.
I have to take a picture. This is your first time in an environment like this. Kathleen Hawkins, President and CEO of the Hendersonville Chamber of Commerce. Kendall is our Director of Events, so I'm going to let her take the lead, even though I will tell you up front, it's hard for me to keep my mouth shut, so I may chime in. Okay.
Hello. We are here today to ask your guys' permission to have hot air balloons at our upcoming event called Sumner Fest. Sumner Fest was supposed to be on Saturday, May the 4th, but we had to push it to August the 10th due to bad weather. This is our second annual event. It's open to the public. It will be held at Sanders Ferry Park on Saturday, August the 10th.
And this year, it is going to be the 50th anniversary celebration for the city of Hendersonville. So it is a free event. There's no charge for parking. There's no charge for the trolley rides. There's no charge to attend. Of course, whatever food or whatever they want to buy from the vendors, they would have a fee for. But we're asking your permission to support it. Last year, one of the biggest benefits I saw was how many people, we had about 4,000 people in attendance. Last year, one of the biggest benefits was how many people I saw that said, I've lived in Hendersonville for 20 years or 30 years, and I've never been to this park. And that was huge for me as an outsider coming into the city of Hendersonville, because for a long time I thought the city by the lake meant Drake's Creek Park that you could see right here by Myers Front Porch. And when I saw Sanders Ferry Park, it was just eye-opening and beautiful to me. And I want everybody to see that.
Okay, thank you. Andy, do we not have an application for this?
Yes, sir. This event has already been approved. What we're asking for your approval of is the use of hot air balloons, because in the city ordinance, it says no person shall voluntarily bring land or cause to descend or alight within any park, any airplane, flying machine, balloon, parachute, or other apparatus for aviation unless activity is expressly approved by the Parks Board of Recreation.
Which is us. Okay,
Correct.
that's good.
Yes.
How many?
We're just trying to be legal here.
You're very good. You did fine. How many balloons do you expect?
Currently, we'll have 4 balloons, one that provides tether rides, one that takes flight, and 2 that will glow, that will just be there to be pretty for pictures.
Okay. Mr. Pike?
A couple of questions. Do we have sufficient enough insurance for that, or do we need it? And as far as the one that's flying, where do we have sufficient enough space to land out there?
I think it lands wherever it wants to, don't it?
Well, I guess it does, but I would think that they want to bring the.
The space to land will be no problem. The insurance would be the company will provide the insurance that will hold the city harmless. And I'm assuming people have to sign a waiver before they get up in them. I would. Yeah.
There's a couple of different factors that are placed. We do hire a balloon management company to supervise and to secure all the pilots. Each pilot has to have a special insurance. The balloon management company has to have insurance. Our chamber, just to be safe, takes out an additional insurance clause. And as far as where they land, last year they took flight and they landed in someone's farmland about 45 minutes away from here. So it's just one balloon that takes flight, and yes, they do have to sign waivers and insurance liability clauses that are approved by Marty Cook, who is our current board chair with Bone McAllister Law Firm, as well as Mary Smith Donor, who is our legal representative.
Any more questions of you lovely ladies? Yes, sir, Mr. Frank.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Frank motion, Mr. Bennett second the motion. You get that, Andy?
Got it.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Actually, there's enough hot air up here to fill a couple of them balloons if you want us to come over. I'm not going to point out who that is.
Well, we want everybody to come, so please help us share the word and spread the word. As the 50th celebration, it's a free family fun event, and we just want people to see the beautiful city that we
Can you say the
represent.
date one more time, just so everybody can?
It's
Watching at
Saturday,
home.
August the 10th. It's from 4 to 9 p.m. at Sanders Ferry Park.
There you go.
And that was already voted on, all right?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Concession stand use agreement for athletic leagues. Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you guys requested in the last meeting, you guys approved the facility use agreement for athletic leagues, and now this would be a separate document for concession use. The leagues would fill this out each January, be a one-year agreement, and then every January from here on, they'd have to sign a new agreement, and this is for the use of the concession stands. So for those leagues that operate multiple concession stands, they would fill this out and list all the concession stands they plan to use for our staff and board's approval each season. Pretty much the form itself is very similar to what you guys approved in the last meeting for the use agreement, facility use agreement.
I have one question, or really one bullet point, that you probably should make an addendum. And this goes along with the city year end. Since the city ends its fiscal year June or July, whenever that is, every year we've currently paid all concession fees that were due up to that point. So like, what, I'm giving June 20th as a cutoff date. Keith, help me out, because me and you talk about this all the time. So every year, June 20th, we do a concessions report, turn in 7.5% up through that date, and then at the end of the season, turn the rest of it in. Right, currently, you have doing it all once a year at the end of the season. So if you want that funds and however that works, is this viable to do this once a year, or do we need to put that in there that you got to do it twice a year?
Yeah, we can adjust the wording of this, so the 7.5% of sales will come in June and December, but the actual form use agreement will have to be a one-time a year agreement.
Plus June 20th is my birthday, so we can easily remember that. I'll accept presents that day. So.
Well, that changes, I think, year to year by a few days, depending on the city's
Give them enough time to
calendar.
get them in by the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
And I need a
So I make a motion, we approve this with that addendum in that one paragraph.
Mr. Head, Mr. Pike, second.
What exactly do you want me to write down on there? In June and December, and then we'll worry about the date later?
Yes, sir.
Got it?
Yes, sir. Head and who?
Mr. Pike.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on the matter? Yes, Ms.
I
Frank.
have one question on page 7, paragraph 2. During the term of the agreement, must submit 7.5% of gross sales?
That is correct.
Nice. Any more discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Thank you. And you'll adjust that, Mr. Long, I believe, so that'll be fine.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Civitan Club of Hendersonville requests to run the Winter Basketball League. Mr. Whitaker and Park staff. Hello, Mr. Whitaker.
Hello.
Basically, Civitan would like to request to run the winter basketball league that the city usually runs.
And I'm assuming that since the parks staff is attached to this, you have something to say about that, or?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we actually reached out to Civitan to see about their interest in running the league moving forward, from a, registration standpoint, schedules, as game schedules, uniforms, that sort of thing. We'll still be involved from the gym supervisors, the school standpoint. Will be the point of contact. So we're gonna kind of share responsibilities, similar to what we do with Civitan baseball. The league has just gotten so big for our staff to manage, 1,000+ kids every season. So we reached out to Civitan. They've done a great job with all the leagues that they do run, and they took over softball. I guess it was a year and a half ago, and have done a great job with that. And so we wanted to reach out and see their interest in basketball.
Question? Mr. White?
Is this the youth leagues? Is that what we're talking about, up through?
What we discussed was grades 1 through 8, or basically 1 through 9, the youth league. Then the city would consider, or can still run the high school league, the park high school league, and the open high school league, and the adult leagues, and volleyball. This is basically grades 1 through 8, the individual sign-ups. Yep. And most of the contact with the schools is going to be through us. That's what the principals are going to ask because of the school use facility agreement. The city will still be quite involved in that end of it.
So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this year it was a combined 8th and 9th grade, is that?
Correct, it was this past year, actually last quite a few years, it's been 8 and 9 together.
And that would fall under this?
Probably through 9th graders. If we can't separate, if we don't have enough 9th graders sign up, then we probably have to combine them again and do it through the Civitan, the individual sign-ups, and then we take anything 10th grade and above.
Yeah, our high school rec league, it's 10th grade through 12th grade. Our high school open is 9th through 12th.
Yep. In a perfect world, we'd have a 9th and 10th grade division and an 11th, 12th grade division. That's something we're maybe possibly in the future. Instead of putting 3 grades together, try to look at maybe putting 2 grades together and having open league, 2 open leagues in the high school.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I will say too, I think this gives us a chance to kind of mirror what Civitan has done with, and we talked about this with Brian when he came into the office, that they've done a good job of putting back into facilities. Sometimes schools come to us and ask, can y'all replace a goal or do something like that? And the red tape for us to do that in a timely manner is not very good. But we might can go, that's something that they could help with on the spur of the moment almost, as far as that facilities. And just to reiterate what Keith said too, the school and park agreement goes through us. We're going to be the ones hiring the people that run the gyms and monitor what goes on in the gyms. And we've got a principal over there, Mr. Frank, that lets us use the gym all the time. The Civitan group would be ones responsible for hiring scorekeepers and would pay the referee bills and things like that, which could be very helpful to us to get that out of the city for the kids' sake, because the people that do those jobs right now are underpaid, and for us to raise their pay very much takes about an act of Congress to do. So it's just some there's a lot of conveniences and ways that they could probably help. I think they have a lot of parents already involved as coaches in their baseball and softball leagues that probably do double duty as basketball already anyway. So hopefully that could help everybody out a little bit.
Okay. Any other questions? We'll accept a motion to approve. Mr. White, Mr. Head, second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nobody? You did good. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Tennessee United Soccer Club requests to run the Rec Plus soccer program. Mr. Henson.
Hey, my name's Steve Henson. I'm the Executive Director of Tennessee United Soccer, and we're here tonight to ask for your consideration to allow us to expand some of our programming. We have two that we would like for you to consider. We currently have a junior academy program which serves the under 7 and under 8 age groups, and we have a lot of people that have seemed to enjoy that program, and they've asked if we had anything for younger siblings, and currently we do not. So we would like consideration to expand our junior academy program, not just under 7 and under 8, but also allow it for an under 5 and under 6 age groups. And the other one is we'd like to partner with the state on a pilot program called a PLUS program, and the PLUS program is kind of a bridge between recreational soccer and competitive soccer. There seems to be the need where kids want a little bit more than recreational has to offer, but not quite as much cost and travel as competitive soccer offers. And so the plus is it would be in-house games plus the ability to work with other clubs in the area, also have recreational programs, so the kids could play in-house games, but also have the opportunity to play some weekends if they wanted to, not forced to, against other clubs that we have great relationships with, like Goulitsville, Murfreesboro, Bowling Green, Clarksville, and other programs. So those are our two asks for tonight that if you would consider.
Questions?
I've got one.
Yes, sir. Mr. Bowman.
So how is this different than what HSC is offering now?
At the U5 and U6, our junior academy program, we offer professional coaching and not volunteer coaching. Our professional coaches are assisted by volunteer parent coaches, but the sessions are led during the week and on the weekend by professional coaches, because our philosophy is it's never too young to offer professional coaching, and we try to approach it like a school of soccer. You wouldn't wait until 3rd grade until you had the real teachers work. You might as well, start them off at an early age, because we want U5 and U6 and all the kids, their first experience to be where soccer equals fun. And sometimes if you don't have a professional coach in there, the coach might not have a background in soccer, might not even be good with children. So we've had a lot of success with our junior academy U7, U8s by having the professional licensed coaches lead everything and assisted by parent volunteers. So that would be the bigger difference. There'll also be some things about gender separation and co-ed things, and sometimes we do games on the weekends parity-based, and sometimes we do them ability-based to make the games a little bit more level. So we split kids up by ability on the weekends, because that's best for player development.
Mr. Bowman?
Yeah, a couple questions, I guess, on the on some of the things here that you're talking about offering, the junior 5 to 6 academy, 7 to 8 junior academy, the Rec Plus program, maybe not the Rec Plus per se, but on the others, are these programs that, Andy, you guys, are these programs that would have been integrated had you all had fall under that same committee? That was
the hopes.
Okay. I mean, I'll just say it. I mean, what's going to happen here is you're going to end up with more and more kids leaving HSC and going to Tennessee United because of what they're offering. So just because there's two opinions doesn't mean that they're equal distance from the truth. Andy's heard me say that 100 times. So somebody's more wrong than right, and more right than wrong on this proposal of trying to combine. So it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I think HSC is at a disadvantage. They're at a disadvantage because they don't have the same programs to offer. I don't understand why we're at a point where we haven't been able to solve that problem. I guess I just don't understand that. I mean, I've spent, just for anybody that doesn't know, I mean, I've been around soccer for 30 years. Started out with rec. I was on the board with HSC, one of the founders of Tennessee United. Spent 8 years as president of Tennessee State Soccer Association. I don't know anything, but I've seen everything. And what'll happen here is you're going to end up depleting HSC. And that's not neither good nor bad, but you're offering programs that they don't have, and it would be in HSC's best interest if this committee moves forward with this to hold on to those players and offer that through you guys.
Yes, sir, I agree.
Andy, you want to make any comments? You're kind of in an awkward position, no doubt.
No, it's not awkward for me. This is player development was one of the things that I thought was going on in other cities that I had heard other cities were doing, some of them doing with people we have in our city, some of them in other cities that know nothing about our city. I've heard from parents that I'm at the age where I have parents that have kids that have played in both travel and rec. And I thought there was an opportunity, if they could work together, to provide some things for kids that wanted it more than just showing up with a dad. I didn't know about, obviously I didn't have laid out any kind of program. I just knew that these things were going on in other cities. I didn't see why we were behind when we have two of the best and biggest clubs in one place. So, I don't blame these. We worked for months together and couldn't get anything accomplished. They were willing to do some things at certain costs to provide to rec. When I say they, Tennessee United, I think there's a large portion of the rec HSC board and people involved that were willing to work towards something like that, but it's just not happening together. So I don't know what'll happen. I don't, in my opinion, what will happen. If you're asking me my opinion, I think you'll end up with the same amount of kids for the first couple of years in both clubs, total. And I think some will probably go to one or the other instead of there being, if you had 1,000 kids, maybe there'll be 701 now and 300 in another. I don't know. I don't think that 9 million kids are just going to all of a sudden sign up for HSC or Tennessee United based on HSC lowering their fees or United offering a program. I don't think that's a game changer either way. I think you're going to get for a while until people figure it out. I don't. That's my opinion.
I'm going to, and I see you've already put, I'd very much like Mr. Frank's opinion and Mr. Boulder's opinion on this. Not that everybody else can't do it, but I'm not a soccer man, so I'm going to give Mr. Frank the floor first and give your opinion, sir.
Can I just ask a couple of points
Yes, sir.
for fact?
Yes, sir.
If I am the parent of a 6-year-old, do I have the opportunity to sign up under HSC in the rec program and participate in the junior academy program under this proposal?
Yes, sir.
So I can be a HSC rec player and join this group for one 45-minute practice per week at an additional cost, or is that a service that you are offering to the community?
It would be an additional cost. It would be like their regular league with practices and games on the weekend, but all recreational players are considered Division IV players, so they could technically register for recreational soccer with us, recreational soccer with HSC, recreational basketball, recreational cheerleading. If you're a Division IV player in our state, you can sign up for multiple. Now then, if the clubs would allow it, clubs might not allow. Each club can have their own rules, but at the state level, Division IV players can be on multiple recreational teams. But if they're signed up with one or the other, if it's set up age and developmentally appropriate, the practices you get and the games you get, that should be enough for that age level. There would be no reason to sign up for both, but technically players could under the Division IV rules.
So I just want to make sure that we've talked in a little bit of code tonight about the inability to get along. So I just want to get some things out there,
Yes,
because
sir.
we got to talk facts if we're going to make decisions.
Okay.
But if I'm a parent of a 6-year-old and I want to sign up because I want to practice on Tuesday nights because it's better for my family's schedule, that I can control the practice time. So I'm going to sign up for HSC. But I want my child to also receive some quality professional at 6 years old, maybe a little strong.
Paid, licensed, right.
Classically trained coaching, so it's above what I can do just Googling soccer drills.
Correct.
In order for me to participate in the U5, U6 Junior Academy, I would also have to register and pay an additional fee to the Soccer Plus, TUSC Plus, in order to get that, and then I would just have to hope that my family could make both programs work schedule-wise.
That you could do it that way.
So it's not, we are not at the point where this program could be offered concurrently.
If we work together, it could be offered.
But right now, if you're asking for a decision from the board tonight and we approve this, we're going to have two coexisting rec programs.
Yes, sir.
For my 6-year-old.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My second question I have is mainly more for the Parks Department. Because of a numbers situation, can our fields and weekly schedule support this?
I believe so.
You believe we could run 3 soccer programs concurrently in the parks?
I believe so, yeah. Looking at the practice schedule from this past season, there's a lot of open spaces out there. Now, you might have to use a Friday, or you might have to use a Wednesday. Not everyone's going to be able to practice Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:30. But there's field space.
And what about on Saturdays for games?
Saturdays, there's plenty of field space, but both leagues will have to realize that your games can't end at 12 p.m. You'll have to play throughout the day, just like baseball does and flag football does, softball does. Not everyone's gonna get their games in from 9 to 12, but there's plenty of field space. I promise you.
There's a gentleman in the audience here that has a tremendous amount of experience in scheduling and providing officials for this fast-growing. Is it appropriate for me to address the audience in that question?
You can suspend the rules.
I'll suspend the meeting, and you can do that.
Mr. Polk, is it feasibly possible? I think it's a yes/no question. Is it feasibly possible to assign referees and games, given the parameters of all 3 leagues, in one season? Do we have enough officials, and is it feasibly possible?
He needs to come up here.
We don't generally use referees for those. They're just small kids games, so there wouldn't be any problems with referee-wise. Field usage-wise, I worked with Dallas over this past season. We were able to work the schedule around for both programs, and there's plenty of room and time. And as you said, we'll have to make adjustments in the time, playing most of the day on Saturday or even on a Sunday possibly. But there are plenty of room to do those types of things.
Okay. And my third question is just kind of blending those two. Is there, if this is a pilot program with the state,
correct,
what other apples-to-apples comparisons, where is this taking place in a community such as ours that is working very, very well? And what have they mentioned as far as their growing pains in implementing a program? Has it cannibalized their rec program? Has it actually bolstered and supported it? Has it been virtually neutral? What could we expect in the first year to 3 years of implementation, assuming that there is no movement towards collaboration?
Now, just to be clear, the U5 and U6 Junior Academy program is not part of that. The Plus program would begin at the U9 age group. So U5 and U6, it's only in-house. The Plus program, that's how pilot it is. I contacted the state, like, what are the leagues could we connect with? Where is this going? Same questions you had, and they said, that's how pilot it is. It's not up and running yet. They're looking for clubs to take this and get it going because they know the need is there, but they think the need's not being met. So with our relationships with Nashville United, Murfreesboro, Bowling Green, Gouldsville, Clarksville, with those recreational programs, we think we have enough outreach to say, hey, you've got a U10 team, a U12 team, U14, U18, play in-house, but then if you'd like to find a couple dates and do the plus schedule, maybe our kids could play, instead of just playing the same kids all the time, play some other kids within their recreational leagues is the kind of mindset and approach.
Then let me rephrase my question, and thank you for clarifying that. If I'm a parent of a 6-year-old that is contemplating this, are there other communities where the travel or the competitive program runs this type or directs this kind of 5 and 6 and 7 and 8-year-old rec program?
Yes, sir, there is. Clubs I've been at before offer this, and the recreational program is led by the professional coaches, the professional paid directors, and then they work hand in hand with the little ones, U5 through U8, and the thought process behind it is the professional coaches lead them through U5 through U8 as the parent volunteers, and once they get to age of competitive soccer U9, the children can pick. So if they pick recreational, that's fine. If they pick competitive, that's fine. If they pick competitive, they continue on with the competitive coaches. But if they pick recreational, then those recreational volunteer parents who have been in the junior academy program, U5, U6, U7, U8, have 4 years of experience working with professional coaches. And if those kids decide to go the recreational route, now we're developing parent coaches as well. So when they go that route, they've had 4 years of lesson plans, how to structure lesson, how to deal with children, and things like that. So it's not only player development, it's also developing parents who want to be future recreational coaches.
And in your experience, do these other clubs continue to have viable numbers in their rec program beyond 8 years old?
Yes, because everyone's working together instead of working against each other.
Thank you.
Mr. Bowler, I'd like your opinion, sir.
I'm a bit conflicted because I do have personal experience, and what I've seen very much from the outside, because I'm not associated with Tennessee United, what I feel like I've seen is a lot of growth on Tennessee United's side. There is recreational soccer is extremely important because all of the kids, there needs to be a place for recreation soccer. All of the kids don't have the desire or the ability or the focus or the time, right? So there is having rec-only soccer is critical to the growth of soccer in the entire community. What I hear from the programs sounds very strong, but I'm not ready to make a decision about that. About the program this evening. I personally would like to hear how the athletic committee meeting comes out before I'm ready to make a decision.
Thank you, Mr. Bowler. Very quickly, Jimmy, you and Mr. Pike were on the original, the 15th meeting. Do y'all have you've already said something, but I'd like your kind of initial thoughts there, Mr. Pike.
I'm like Mr. Bowler, and I think I may share, I have strong feelings like Mr. Franks does. But I am like Mr. Bowler. I don't think, I would like to see what the athletic committee comes back with, because ultimately the best decision that we can make for everybody involved is for you two clubs to get along. And I think, I'm just going to go and say it, if we're going to be frank and honest, we need to be honest. I think the way to do it is to have a committee that has whatever you want to call it, a guy there that arbitrates both sides. Parks Department needs it for scheduling. The boards need it so they can learn how to get along. They need each other. Whether they think they need each other or not, they need each other.
Agreed.
From an outsider looking in who has no kids involved in it, they need each other. They've needed each other for a long time, in my opinion. The kids need it, the parents need it, Everybody needs it, and it benefits everybody. But it starts with, like I tell my kids all the time, when you're out there in life and you're learning lessons, it starts with you. I can tell them all day long that they need to do it, but it starts with them. So it's got to start somewhere. Somewhere it has to start. And so I'm not in a position to vote on this tonight. I think I want to wait till the athletic committee comes back. But, I mean, that's my 2 cents worth.
Mr. Head.
First, Steve, is there a time constraint if we were to defer this till next month? Would that be?
Yes, sir, because, registration, and we need to start preparing for the fall. If anything's allowed, all the administration and registration and planning and scheduling and uniform ordering, it all takes place starting June 1st.
Okay. So you have a time constraint of June the 1st for this to be able to fly this year?
Yes, sir.
Dallas, you've said that this league could be formed and wouldn't be a problem with scheduling any field time, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have the ability for field space. We have a deadline. We have a gentleman in the audience who says, from what I gather, there's no issues with being able to schedule umpire refs for the game, correct?
I have mentors for referees. I'm also the state referee, so I can bring referees from what the state gives me to do.
So,
Over here locally, there's plenty of referees, and the new classes coming up this summer, so I mean, there's always referees coming. I feel very comfortable saying we have plenty of them.
so because I understand what we have in the athletic committee, I'm just the opposite. Okay? I think we need to either approve it or not approve it. If we table it and we send it to the committee, then it's a dead program for the year. Correct, for the most part?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm kind of torn. I mean, I would like to go back to the athletic committee and get these groups to work together, but maybe this is what it takes to get the groups to work together is by approving this league, and then maybe the other group will decide they need to get into action and get with the program. Because I don't think it's the willingness of the group that's currently talking that has the issues.
Would you be prepared to make a motion toward that?
I'll make a motion, we approve this league.
Okay.
As presented.
Do I have a second? Mr. White, second.
Mr. Chairman, before,
I want to ask a discussion.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
you're really voting on two different things. They've asked to expand their current junior academy from 7 and 8 down to 5 and 6. That's one vote you need to make, I think, if I understood right. If I'm understanding this as two separate proposals, I think, the way you stated it.
Yes, sir.
So you probably have to make one motion to approve their junior academy to expand from 7 and 8 to ages 5 and 6, I think.
Okay, so then I'll make that first motion to expand from 7 and 8 to 5 and 6.
You're amending your motion?
Amending my first motion.
And the second, Mr. White. More discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. I think, anybody opposed? I didn't see anybody.
Did you say abstain, somebody?
I did, because I like what he says, and I'll just explain it to you. I like what Jimmy says, and I'm for this, but I don't want to say no, I'm not ready to say yes, so I'm abstaining.
So I have all in favor except one abstention. You guys in favor?
Yes.
Okay. And
Then the second one would be the addition of a pilot Rec Plus. I don't know how to Rec Plus program for ages what exactly?
That would begin at the U9
That's what I
level.
thought. So U9 through 19, I guess you would have a Rec Plus program.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the new U9 through U19 Plus program.
Mr. Head, make the motion. Second. Mr. White, second. Any more discussion?
Now, I do have a comment, but Mr. White, go ahead.
I would like to say that, and not being a soccer person, my oldest is 22, and he played one season of soccer when he was 5. And then he played baseball and never went back. This is obviously the most participated sport in Hendersonville, and I would like to, part of the reason we're all setting up here is long-term what's best for this city as it relates to our kids. I think we're looking at something here that could be a program that other sports pattern themselves after, specifically a baseball program that has the same concept behind it, where you don't have the same thing as Mr. Boulder was saying. You don't have the kids that desire to play travel or have the ability to play travel or can afford to play travel, but it gives them opportunities to dip their toe in it and see. I think this in all sports could be something years and years from now we could look back and say that this program maybe caused other sports to look at a similar program that made sports in this city much better as a whole.
Very well put, sir. Any more discussion?
Yes, sir. Just a couple things. Going back to the field space, kind of, obviously I don't know everything, but I will say kind of what I said earlier. I don't think you're adding kids by doing this. I think you're going to probably have a lot of the same kids choose one or the other, and which helps the field space question. I do think you will over time in 2 to 3 to 4 years, you're probably going to add kids to both programs by doing this, if I had to guess. Second thing, I had a lady in my office this afternoon meeting with me about a totally separate issue that we're trying to implement as far as safety in the parks. And somehow the discussion came up. She said, well, I said, do your kids play in the park? Yes, they played. They were in the United Academy this year, but they're not going back to United next year. So I was like, oh God, what happened? Her comment was very simple. He does not want to. She was asking me about tennis lessons for the fall. He does not want to play soccer at that high of a level for us to spend that kind of money. So she had no idea this was on the agenda tonight. So I said, well, what if he could do what's being presented tonight? All for it. I think you'll see that. And then I think there will be people that continue to play HSC that like Mr. Frank said, that maybe they need to pick Thursday night to practice, and that's not an option for anybody. I think that's possible. I've said this 100 times since I started in August. Standing still is going backwards. Standing still is going backwards. And there are other cities and communities in all sports doing things like Mr. White just said. This could be a model for other sports. As a baseball coach, I'd give anything if our rec baseball program had access to something like this over the years, and we would be making it to the sub-state every year. So that's a different opinion, but that's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mrs. Frank.
I want to make sure I know what I'm voting on, too. So I had a hypothetical 6-year-old a few minutes ago. I have a real-life 14-year-old daughter. She's never played soccer because I couldn't assure her that her team would be pink. So she's never played. But if she decided she wanted to give something a shot and came and said, I'd really like to try soccer, under the Plus program, how would she be assigned a team, and what is my autonomy as a rec parent to kind of make that work for me?
Be assigned a team. some programs do it different way. They do a blind draw, some do a ranking system. I think the ranking system works best because it makes parity on the weekends. Nobody likes to win by 10 goals. Nobody likes to lose by 10 goals every weekend. So the ranking system for the players seems to make the best in rec leagues that I've ran before. That seems to be the best. And then the plus program is an option. So we might have a team, U14 girls team, that wanted to play a recreational team from Murfreesboro one weekend or Clarksville one weekend, or they might not, and that's okay too. Or the U14 girls division might want to form an all-star team that goes to a certain tournament or a recreational level tournament, or play a team from Bowling Green recreational. So it's really kind of, we can massage it to make it work for everybody.
Okay. But if my schedule and her level of commitment is not there, would you encourage me to go to HSC because it's more flexible, more suited to the absolute novice, never touched a ball before? Or how would I be directed coming in to register my daughter?
I would recommend that HSC and Tennessee United work together, and none of this even has to take place.
Well,
is what I would recommend.
And
Yeah.
it sounds good, but
Yeah.
where we are currently,
Yeah.
I mean, I need to know what's best for my kid.
Right.
And that's kind of what's driving us is, what about the fees? How would they compare?
They should be the same recreational level fees. Now, of course, if you do a little something extra, maybe you have to pay for referees. If you go to Murfreesboro, if we bring some teams in from Clarksville, a recreational team comes and plays that U14 girls team, if it's an extra game, it'd be an extra
Certainly.
fee. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we could just do it as, kind of take care of it as it went and as it developed.
All right. I agree that there is an absolute need in place for a large and vibrant recreational program in a city with every sport.
Agreed.
That is an entry point into community involvement and families and making a community a home. I know that I have some strong feelings, but the recreational heartbeat should be the largest organization and the most fluid and the most recognizable program within a sport. Before we vote here, I want to make a very clear statement to both parties. Moving forward, if this is approved, the PR with families in the community is going to be critical for the future of both programs. Because if this is approved and we have 3 soccer programs, 2 that are run by one organization and 1 run by another, when a family like mine is getting ready to choose, somebody's going to squawk in my ear and tell me which one to pick. And they can either do that for the love of the game and the love of the sport and for furthering that, or they can choose to run the other club down and continue to further this chasm that does not appear that it's getting any closer to being bridged. And my daughter will probably be a one and done, whether we go HSC or TUSC plus, if that PR is negative on both sides. And I just want to make sure that moving forward, when this vote is done, whatever happens, we go with what Mr. Pike has always maintained. And if we're doing this, it better be about the game and the kids. We honored Mr. Wharton earlier, honoring the game and doing things the right way for the right reason. And I know which way I'm going to vote here in just a minute, but it is, I don't know what word I want to use, but it is critical that both parties realize what the PR is going to be for families that are now having to make a choice.
Could I comment on that?
Yes, sir. Well, one second. Mr. Bowler.
having a choice is important. I think Tennessee United is a better club because there was another choice. And I voted in favor of the junior academy. I will not be voting in favor of the pilot program, not before the athletic meeting.
Mr. Chairman, in regards to making a decision, waiting on the athletic committee, I understand that, and it's pretty logical. I guess my question would be, it's rhetorical more or less, I suppose. If Andy and his group takes months and months to get to where they are, and then the two groups get together, and it takes them months and months to get to where they are, which is nowhere, what's the chance of the athletic committee coming back in 30 days with a decision? And I guess the other question, the other comment would be, everybody should get along, but everybody doesn't get along. You know, Darren spoke so eloquently, and I hate to go after him, actually. So Darren couldn't be on BOMA because he speaks too eloquently and logically. And so people would follow what he has to say. But at the end of the day, somebody's got to make a decision. And so I'd encourage some decision to be made amongst the two groups as opposed to someone else making that decision. Everybody agrees that recreational is important. It's just how you look at it, how it's structured. And I would also say that at the end of the day, and I think everybody would agree here, just because you're playing rec doesn't mean you don't need to be learning something. So if you're in rec, you want to be able to be around players that are as good or better than you. You want to be able to be learning things from coaches that, know what they're doing, have been trained a little bit. And it's getting more and more difficult, but there are still high schools out there, I don't know about the city of Hendersonville anymore, that have recreational players on there. There used to be. I'm not so sure. I don't know how many there really are at the end of the day. And the Rec Plus program is really just it's really for those kids that either do not want to, that maybe could play somewhat competitively, but maybe not quite enough to play competitively at the travel level, or they've chosen not to play, right?
Yes.
So they're going to be at a little higher level than what the regular recreational player will be in most cases?
Not necessarily, not
necessarily.
at all.
How would you differentiate the regular recreational player and the Rec Plus?
None at all. If you would like the opportunity, if you wanted to, instead of playing the same players all the time within your in-house league, you'd have the opportunity to play some recreational players that live on the other side of town.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions? Mr. Bennett?
Steve, when in the Plus program, are you in the 9 to 19, is it going to be a open tryout evaluation? You said you're going to do like a evaluation. Are they going to be able to try out and get the number to draft? Or is it going to be just like a blind draw like it currently is in current rec?
It'll be open registration, just like any recreational program, and then bring the age group together, or use the rankings from last year, because like I grew up playing here, the same thing, the rec teams, and you got a blue team and a yellow team, red team. So,
right. Thank you, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I just was, y'all do what you want to do, but the rec people are here too, if you want to hear their thoughts on whatever, to speak. I would
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
I think they need to be given, I don't know who's going to speak for them, or if they want to.
Could I
There's
make
plenty
a
of-
very quick comment about Darren's comment before is that allowed?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay. The PR going forward will not be good. We have two competing groups here for no reason whatsoever. And in my 29 years of doing this, this is the most dysfunctional setup I have ever seen. I've never seen a recreational program and a competitive program sharing the park, not only not working together, but actually working against each other. And when Tennessee United hired me 2 years ago, one of the first things they put on my plate was, Steve, repair the relationship with HSC. And I've tried, and I've met some of these wonderful people here. I have no idea why we can't pull this together. I don't know if it's personalities or different conflicts, but I've met with these folks. I know some of them, and they're absolutely wonderful. I've never seen anything like this before, and it seems so simple, and everyone says it's for the benefit of the kids, but for some reason, we just can't get any traction, and that's what's kind of led to this. So I think the world of them tried to work together. The possibilities are endless if we work together on the field, off the field, fundraising, sponsorships, the outreach in the communities, working with local schools. I know their vision's the same as ours for recreational and competitive. I don't know why it can't be pulled off. Like I said, I've never seen this before, especially with such wonderful people on both sides. So that I just wanted to throw that out there.
And that's what we're hoping, that the meeting of the athletic committee maybe can break some ice in that. You're right, and it seems kind of schoolish to me, and so as Andy said, if you're not going forward, you're backing up, and
Right.
And so any more discussion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
You want to go? I didn't hear a clear answer on Darren's question a minute ago. If my child is playing, comes and signs up for this new program, and you don't feel that that program is best for him, would you recommend him to go play in HSC?
I would. I get emails and phone calls every day from people who moved to our community from all over the country. Hey, my kid plays soccer. What are you looking for? You want this or you want that? I recommend HSC weekly, especially this time of year when people are moving in. Yeah, they've got a great program, of course.
Any more questions? Mr. White?
I don't have a question. If there's no more questions, I will make a motion to suspend the rules to let the HSC representative come up and speak if anybody would like to.
That would be fine. I've got a motion, Mr. White, a second, Mr. Head. Any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we'll go back to the other motion briefly after this, so.
I got it, Shirley.
No, there's actually something I would like to say. I'll wait for you. No, go ahead.
State your name, please.
Jose Montero, representing Hendersonville Soccer Club. I mean, I'm here to answer any questions, as you all may have. I have met with Dallas, Andy, had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Frank, Mr. Head, and Mr. Pike the other night. To be honest with you,
Hold on one second. We had a motion and a second. Did we vote on that?
We did, yes.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no, I apologize. If there's any questions, just let me know. I'm not, just speaking for our board, we're not opposed to working with Mr. Henson and Tennessee United. We're not opposed to working with Mr. Gilly. There is one verbiage in the original Connect Committee proposal that had us had us hesitant, and it was the part where the player development would be negotiated with the Connect Committee, and the Hendersonville Soccer Club would have to put it into the budget. We can never get, we just spoke hypothetical prices at our meetings. We can never get to get our board, or the HSC board, on board with this, and to trust the other gentlemen and myself who are representing us, something to present. We just never had anything. We just had a hypothetical number. And when you start multiplying that hypothetical number, it becomes a big chunk. And there was hesitance there. So again, that's the only reason why in the statement it mentioned take the Parks Board out of it, because if you look at it, it was 5 representatives, 2 from each club, and then 1 Parks Board member. It was the aspect of, here's this hypothetical number. We're meeting, the 5 of us. Yep, we vote on it. The 2 board members, and we also use the analogy as from Tennessee United's side. If the 2 HSC members were able to convince the board member from you all's group to sway, hey, their registration should be $5, and I'm hypothetical again, then we felt that the control of each club shouldn't be in the possession of 5 people. The other day, whenever we met with Mr. Head, he mentioned Civitan, and correct me, jump in please if I misquote. he mentioned that this was almost going to be put in place for Civitan years ago. And he mentioned it was not to control the club. And not saying that this committee was, your intention might have been not to control the club, but at one point it felt as if it was going to control the club. When you take the negotiation power out of it, because you're saying 5 people are going to represent this and the other club is going to have to put it into their budget, yes, it is for the kids. And that's what we're here for. We're here for the fun atmosphere. But we would also like the opportunity to discuss and be presented with, hey, here's our plan, and be able to take it back to our board to negotiate, to actually just have them have a say and be on board with it. Mr. Head mentioned that when Civitan was, when all of this was going to be in play for Civitan, parents from the baseball or in the community would be involved. I think he said 2 to 3 parents. That's a great idea. Just if it does go into effect, I know the athletic committee is going to meet on it, having an outside voice, it is great because it is for the families, it is for the kids, and that is one thing that we do stand for. But I just want to clarify because I know when you read the verbiage it says we don't want the Parks Board. I just want everybody to know that's what that statement was, and we've tried to work. I'm not saying we can't get along. I like the athletic committee and the neutral arbitrator idea. Again, we're not opposed to working with you all, working with United. We're not, I know it's painted that we're against everything. I just want to let everybody know we're here for the kids. And I'm open for any questions.
Question?
Anybody got questions? I do.
Yes, sir, Mr.
If I had heard $30 per player, is that incorrect?
That was the hypothetical in the conversation, $30 per player, which if you look at HSC has over 1,000 players. We looked and we said, so you're saying $30,000 a season, which equates to over $60,000 a year. When you take that back to our board, without knowing, okay, what's it going to look like, there's just a flat out, just wait a minute. Again, the other representative and myself, we don't have that power to commit $60,000 of HSC, the families, the parents' money to the other soccer club. And again, if there's a presentation to show, hey, this is everything we're going to get, whether it's coaching development, player development, it was just a hypothetical $30 per player, and we never got past that.
Okay. I saw your financials. I don't mean to put anybody on the spot. I see somebody who's emotional. I don't want to do any of that. I really don't. So maybe I'll do my best to tone it down. But you have a lot of them. You've got plenty of money. That's really not the issue. I understand you want the particulars of it. I'd be looking at it from a standpoint of, and I know you didn't mean it this way, but as opposed to control, look at it from an investment standpoint. So, you've got board members and HSC parents that want to do maybe it a certain way. They're not necessarily as knowledgeable as your competition, as you see it maybe, as Tennessee United.
Sorry to interrupt. They're not competition to us. We provide a rec program. They are a travel program. I just want to put that out that we do not view them as competition in that aspect. And the same question that was asked, would you tell a child, a family to go to HSC? I just want to we have told individuals, I personally am a volunteer parent coach, and I did approach a child this year, her family, and say, hey, you really need to consider Tennessee United because she's that good.
You know that the U.S. Soccer's perfect model, which doesn't exist all the time, is soup to nuts. So it's going to be the 4-year-old starts playing at 4 years old, and over a period of time plays rec, hopefully learns something during that period of time. Then they move on maybe to travel and play accordingly. But if they stay in rec, then they're still playing in viable leagues and learning things. And then they go on and they play in college, or they don't, or they play for their fraternity, or they pick up games, then they come back and they end up on the adult leagues, which really all they want is a little bit of green grass to play. And I'm sure there's at least 4,000 or 5,000 registered players. In Tennessee, there's probably 20,000 adults playing, would be my guess, something like that. So, somehow there has to be a way. If there was one club here, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So, because it would be a model that already exists that should be followed. So, I mean, you can't solve it here. I'm just trying to figure out where the problem is. Clearly, it can't be $30 because you guys would have solved that problem by now in a 2-hour meeting or 6 months or.
I think it's, what are we getting for the $30? What does that encompass? And that part, I apologize, was not presented. And that's where, one, the other gentleman and myself do not have the power to speak for our board. That is something that goes back and the board votes on, that, yes, we want to make that investment, but we didn't have anything to present. All we're saying is $30.
So, one more thing, and I'll let you get okay, but wouldn't it make sense, since you have a significant amount of money in your account, to try one season where you invest in the kids and training and coaching and see how that plays out over a period of time? At the end of the day, $30,000 isn't going to have any impact financially on you guys from that standpoint. So you're still net making a profit based on what your fees are, I think, or pretty close to it. Maybe it's net zero. I mean, maybe that's an option for the athletic committee. I don't know, but try it. We'll see what happens. Because right now you're not getting anywhere, and my concern is exactly this. So, over time, it's going to start eating away at HSC when it could just be one homogeneous group. And that ebbs and flows with players. Players could end up on travel a little bit, come back. Some going to end up on Rec Plus, come back, vice versa. There's just so much to be gained in large numbers and cohesion of that many players, that many coaches, and that many people under one environment. And I'll defer to Mr. Head.
So I've got to ask this question to be clear. You're telling me the only sticking point on the Connect committee is player development?
It's not necessarily the only sticking point, no, sir. But what I'm stating is, when I went back to the board and I spoke to them, and we get to that part, and the verbiage says that they will negotiate the price with the Connect committee. At that point, you're taking the HSC board out of that vote. You're taking their vote away 100%.
Well,
and at that point, that price is being dictated down to the board. And at that point, we did say hypothetical $30, but that hypothetical $30 was just that hypothetical. Just to sit there and take it another way, and I'm not saying that they would or wouldn't. It's one of those, we never knew the price. We never had anything.
All right, so let me ask you this, and I'll ask both of you. This is a joint question, okay? Neither one of you gave a written proposal to either other or the Connect committee to say this is what we should do for player development and how much it costs. Am I correct? Neither one of you gave a proposal, written proposal from either one of your boards?
Correct.
So y'all going to sit here and argue over hypotheticals?
And that's why.
So you want to make a committee work. You come with proposals to make things work. You can sit here and bash the $30 hypothetical they gave you all day long, sir, but I asked you the other night, you didn't come with a proposal. They said they didn't come with a proposal because your exact words was no matter what you give them, your board will turn them down. Is that not correct what you said?
I did not say that. No, I did not. I did not. Jose Montero did not make that comment. And Steve can vouch for it. The other gentleman made the comment that no matter what, and his words were, no matter what him and I can agree on in a room, we can't force our board or speak for our board. But I will go ahead and state, did we bring something to the table? On April 2nd, I did send an email to both gentlemen, Steve and Jonathan, and say, hey, we would like to continue working with you guys. At that point, they both, or Steve responded and said, at this point in time, we're okay, thank you. So we did try and keep working. Did I bring a proposal? No, but I did send an email stating, hey, we would like to work with you guys, and player development was in that email. And at that point, we were told no.
That is correct. You did say that the other night, so I give you credit for that. That is part of what you said to us the other night. But my whole point on this thing is, and we can beat this all up all day long, and I don't want to do that, but in order to work together, groups have to bring ideas to the table. And my thoughts, when this Connect Committee was talked about at this board, the city's not dictating what you are and aren't going to do. This board is not dictating that at this point of what's going to happen. We want you guys to work together and figure it out, and that's what this Connect Committee was. I'm going to also probably tell the Athletic Committee that the Connect Committee needs to expand and have parents out of both of your leagues probably put on that as one of the possible solutions. So it's not just the board members that are listening to it, it's people that you represent as well. But, you know, we've got to fix this. I mean, we're going to vote on this tonight. One way or another, it's going to pass or not pass, I don't know. But, you know, nobody's here to hurt anybody. And once again, we go back to Mr. Pike's statement. It's all about the kids.
Yes, sir.
It's all about the kids. I mean, I've told you guys the other night when all these junior commando programs started in football, you know, they attacked our league in Civitan. And I'm part of Civitan, so a little bias if anybody wants to know. But we decided that we wasn't going to let them deplete our program. We recruited more. We went to the coaches. We said, if you've got kids that you're going to cut or you don't feel like can play really well enough at your school, please send them to us. And we developed those relationships. We didn't say, oh, well, you know, whatever. We went after them. And that's what you guys got to do. Y'all got to get together if something's a sticking point and make proposals to each other. At some point, y'all going to come to a mutual ground and agree on something. But you got to start somewhere, and somebody's got to start.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? I'll bring the.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say a couple of things. I may get emotional, I'm sorry. My name is Shelley Edwards. I recently moved here in 2017, late 2017. I have a 12-year-old son who has played basketball, baseball, soccer, and a couple other sports, and I can't think of them at this moment, in 3 different states, 2 different counties in this state. When I started trying to find, because he goes, hey, Mom, I was hit 6 times in the last baseball season. I don't want to play baseball anymore. I want to go back to soccer. I started calling to find where he could play. I contacted Tennessee United. They directed me, because he was 12 years old and the last time he had played he was 6, that he would probably do better with Hendersonville Soccer Club. Yes, I am wearing one of their t-shirts. Yes, I am a board member, but I have only been a board member since February of this year for this first season, this spring season. So I have seen very little of all the stuff with this committee back and forth. I've been in a couple of our board meetings where things have been discussed, but a lot of what I hear and what I have talked to other parents out in the community, if you're HSC, you don't go play Tennessee United. If you're Tennessee United, you get pushed down to HSC if you're not good enough. That is what I've heard from students and kids that are my son's age, who is now 13. There are some kids who I see who are great playing Hendersonville, that, yeah, they maybe should be playing with Tennessee United because of their skill level, but they don't want to because they're involved in soccer at school, they're involved in soccer for the rec league, they're involved in having a job, they're involved in this. My son's involved in 6 different things right now, at school and with soccer. His dad and I have made it a requirement for him that he be involved in some kind of sport. He is not the most coordinated. He is not the most talented. He will never, never be a professional soccer player. He enjoys the game because he gets to see friends on both teams. Him and this past year, him and a fellow band member played opposite teams. That it wasn't just on the field, it was at school. They would razz each other, and it was good-natured. And they both had fun in both situations. I think a lot of this boils down to which group can make the most money to do the most, to offer the most, is what it sounds to me and what I've heard. My kids have never been in travel ball. It was too expensive for my family. I wasn't willing to sacrifice medical for another son for this one to play on a travel league and to get better. So all I mostly wanted to say was that it is for the kids. I am a direct result of being there for my child. He wanted to be involved. They needed help. I stepped up as a parent. I know little to nothing about soccer, but I can organize, I can call, I can direct, I can be there to take pictures, I can be there to help somebody who gets hurt on the field. I can be there to root everybody on, and I did that at multiple levels this year. I think ultimately all the members of the board are there for the kids. The kids are the most important thing. It doesn't matter if it's $30 for training development. It doesn't matter if it's $2,000 for training development. It's about how can we get it so that everyone is included. There are kids that you can see playing soccer on the side of the road in a neighborhood park. They don't have the money to join Tennessee United or Hendersonville Soccer Club, but they're out there playing because they love the game. I think that we need to take a step back or look at things in that direction. Every parent wants their kid to succeed, wants them to be whatever, be it a professional, be it a high school, be it college level sports. It's ingrained in us in America to do that. It's ingrained in parents across the world. Kids want to make us proud of them. And I think some of this back and forth is missing that point, is taking away from these kids and the fun that they want to have. I know that there was, at one soccer game, I did hear a student who goes, yeah, my team's just phoning it in today. It's just rec, it doesn't matter. Well, then why are you there if it doesn't matter and it's just rec? Are you there to have fun, or are you there just to waste time? And I worry that making it so that it's one club against another, and it becomes a PR battle via Facebook, via Instagram, via whatever. And I don't think that that's good for anyone, be it the kids, be it for Hendersonville. As a community, this country is divided enough. We don't need to see more division. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. The order is suspended, yes, sir. Go ahead.
So my name is Raymond Brody, and I'm in the unique position that I help out both clubs. And I've been involved with the rec program and the Tennessee United program. And I want the growth of both programs. I can't speak for everyone, but I feel that both programs have a place. And I also feel like this board is being asked tonight to make some very important decisions about the future of Hendersonville soccer. I'm not sure this board is in a position at this point to make such a large decision on what's going to happen going forward with soccer. We all know what the ramifications of a vote like this are going to be. It will be a public relations nightmare. Do I care a lot about Tennessee United? Absolutely, my child plays Tennessee United. Do I care a lot about the rec program? Yes, don't even have a kid that's played for years. But I do believe that y'all need to take this vote very seriously for the future of the program. Speaking from someone that's been on the rec board for a very long time, when Mr. Gilley came in, we felt threatened. We felt like it was, the word was used, a hostile takeover. We're going to do this, and this is how it's going to go. We didn't like it. We've had a very, very successful run in rec soccer. Going back to Andy, I was on the board with Andy many years ago. So we were very offended by what was said to us that night. And we still, to this day, are feeling challenged like we're being taken over. Do I believe that? No. I know what Tennessee United wants to do. They want to improve the skill level of our kids. Do I think that there's a place for it? We've tried it. We brought in some coaches. So I just want to just say to this board, take your vote very seriously about what you're about to vote on, because you are being asked to change Hendersonville soccer, and I'm not sure that it makes the sense to make that decision without all the details, just what's been brought forth up to this point and what's been heard from Mr. Head, who's a friend of mine, and Mr. Bolt and Mr. Frank, and you know, everybody who's involved here. I just think that y'all need to really consider what you're about to vote on before you decide just to let this happen. Not saying it's a good idea, not saying it's a bad idea. I just think more discussion needs to be had. And the best thing that I've heard tonight was the athletic committee coming in and bringing in a moderator, because we did feel like that it was going to be a 3-2 vote and we would have no vote whatsoever on the future of the rec soccer program. That was the best thing I've heard tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll give you a couple of minutes.
I'm short, literally. My name is Keith Gunner. I have a kid in both leagues. I'm grateful for it, but I want to make some of the soccer folks cringe because I don't know soccer. I'm a YouTube coach. I have a kid in flag football. I didn't want to coach flag football. I'm a couch football player. But when my son came to me and said, "Dad, will you please coach?" Absolutely. I will be there, because it changed my relationship with my son and what it did for me in the community. If we as a community begin to hire away all our coaches for just a professional coach to come in, we're removing a major impact of a dad mentoring and working with our children in our community that's not being paid. It just needs to be. I don't know the dynamics of the leagues and how this works. I don't understand it, to be honest with you. I'm not a soccer guy. I see it as a pastor in the community saying, man, we're removing the dad from getting in the mix with their kid and dealing with those scenarios and being in the community and just dealing with life together. I think it's well said that we need to be aware that the decision you're making will have an impact. It will be talked about. You know it, how it will be talked about. And I think it needs to be considered that we want not just our kids involved, we want families involved. And if we hire away the removal of dads volunteering and learning the sport, I had a blast. We did some silly things in U7 soccer, but I grew with my kid and the kids in the community. Just want to add that thought. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Go
If I may, since my name was brought up,
yes, sir.
I want to be very clear. I did not come into that meeting and say this is how it's going to be, we're going to do this. I said this is my proposal that I will take to both boards and bring back to this Parks Board, and if they approved it, that's what would happen. That's what I said. Now, the next thing is this. In the community, the way that I see what's being proposed, and I don't have a vote. I don't have a vote. But what I was 2 years ago, 2.5, when the mayor asked me as an alderman to go to both boards and see what I could do to get people working together, it didn't take long to figure out that this train wreck right here was coming. And that's what we got right here, is a train wreck. if you want to call it that. It didn't take long to figure that out. And when I came on board here in August and started working with our staff and seeing what was going on even more in depth, me bringing a proposal for both people to work together was, to be perfectly honest, to prevent this from happening. So now here we sit, and we've had people stand up. Nobody's wrong. Nobody said anything wrong. And I think everybody wants to help everybody. And I think everybody wants the kids to be really good at soccer and have a good time doing it. Everybody up here and everybody out there.
Yes, indeed.
And all of this could have been accomplished by working together. And instead now we've got a proposal for a junior academy to expand and a Rec Plus program that I still say will not, it's not going to change the number of kids playing soccer in a year or two time, I don't think. But at the same time, we have one group wanting to provide that at a cost, obviously. It's a cost. We have another group that says they want to participate in it, but they don't know what it's going to be. They don't understand the structure. But the day before this meeting, they put out a Facebook post that says they're going to lower the soccer fee by $30 if you just have early bird registration. I find that highly coincidental. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I will be the first one to stand up and say I'm wrong. That's a coincidence. Could be. I just want to make it very clear that 2 years ago, when I was asked by our mayor to come meet with people, I met with this staff, met with people on both soccer boards, both presidents. And then it continued as I came into this job. It became a goal of mine to get people on the same dadgum page. And I said it before at the last meeting, I'll say it sitting right here again. I have failed at this job. Failed at it. Because we shouldn't be here at 10 minutes till 8. Now we're in the same boat as they are on dead blame Tuesday nights at Boma when they're here till 4 in the morning. It's ridiculous. Because we can't get together. And I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer, but dadgummit, I'm stubborn and I'm going to try to find one. Because that's the right thing to do for everybody.
Well,
I'm going to shut up now.
No, that's well put. I heard something that troubles me a lot in that, and it's the first time. First and foremost, I talk to Andy Gilly all the time. He knows that. And I believe in the time that he's been here, I know what his heart is. And I know that his aim, and we've talked about this several times, his aim was never to take over or push or anything like that. And I think it just kind of seems to me like there might be a little of that sneaking in here, in that we don't want to be told what to do. And I can assure you, because of the athletic committee, because of the staff here, I can assure you that all they and all we are trying to do is make it better for the kids. That's all they're trying to do. It's not about who runs what. I said it a while ago, but I'm going to say it again. Kids, if you left them on their own, would probably go out back and divide up teams and play and not have any. I mean, they'd have a fight or two, but they would get together and do it. And it just that seems to me like it might be maybe the tip of what we're looking at here is nobody wants to be told what to do, and the only way to do it. I mean, we can beat this into the ground, but the only way to do it is to sit down and talk about it and say, okay, we're going to do this. Well, I don't think that's good. Well, why don't you think that's good? Well, here's why I don't think it's good. Well, you know what? You might be right. Well, then we can agree on that little part. And then we don't like, well, and it can go back and forth all the time. And if you have to have a timeout or two, that's all right. But you just got to get together. We just got to get together. That's all I can say. So that's all I'm going to shut up now too. So
I'll make a quick comment on the the $30, if you did reduce that, it doesn't look good. I deal with that crap. And you may not have, so I'll say what Andy said. I deal with that as an alderman, the political aspect of stuff. I don't like that. Don't like it at all. So everybody should be open and transparent so everybody knows what's going on. So to my point, is what Mr. Montero, maybe it would have been a better idea to go ahead and try that once for $30 as opposed to lowering your fee $30. I don't know the circumstances around that, but that might be just an option as opposed to doing this. Andy, when is the athletic committee going to meet?
That would not be up to me, sir. That would be up to the athletic committee.
Can I, I'll throw this out here, not knowing the answer to any of these questions. If it was June 15th, would that be too late for you? Steve?
Depends on what we're trying to get done.
If you wanted an answer to this proposal.
I believe so, because uniforms need to be ordered and coaches need to be hired and plans need to be made, and registration goes over all the summer and we begin the beginning of August. I think it would. I think that'd put us back.
You're supposed to throw me a bone on that one, but you know.
Sorry.
What's your drop dead date? June 1st?
I don't. We didn't get that far.
June 1st, is that really kind of?
June 1st is when we'd like to open registration, and when usually over the summer that they give, more time the better, but ideally we'd just be working together and wouldn't need to do any of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. In this particular case, I'm gonna do it in a roll call vote. I want you to say yes or no or abstain. Mr. Head?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Zettengren?
Zettergren, yes.
Yes. Mr. Frank?
Abstain.
Okay. Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Pike?
Abstain.
Mr. Bowler?
No.
No. Mr. Perry?
I'm abstain.
We lack a positive vote on this. I hate that you're going to suffer because of this, but as he said, I think this is so important that I think we need to get the athletic committee together as quickly as possible and try to work under that time frame if you can, and try to figure this out. But at this point, the motion fails, and we will wait to hear from the athletic committee. Thank you both for coming. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming, and it shows that we're making headway, I hope. And I saw both of you smiling one or two times, so it had to be pretty good, I guess. All righty. Next on the order, Dave Herron suspension hearing. Mr. Gilly and Mr. Herron. State your name, sir.
Hit that button. Hit that button.
Okay, sorry. My name is Dave Herron.
Very good.
All right.
What would you like to approach the board with, sir?
All right, so on May 6th, I'm a coach. I was the assistant coach of an 8U Civitan baseball team. And on May 6th, I was involved in an altercation with another one of my assistant coaches on my team. And some reports were made, and I was given a suspension, a 2-week suspension, which caused me to miss the end of the season, end of the year. And my part, I didn't believe that my part involved in this warranted that. The season's over, my suspension is over, but after reading some of these reports, I just wanted to clear my name on this, all right? I'm recently, I've been in Hendersonville for the last 7-8 years. I have a 6-year-old, actually now 7-year-old son. and a 5-year-old daughter. And I've coached my son for 2 years in Hendersonville in baseball, and then also 2 seasons in soccer. When it comes to baseball, and the reason why I'm here is because I want to clear my name, because I want to be a part of the community. I want to be a part of the baseball league, and I don't want my name to be tarnished because of this incident. And I hope to prove to you guys that my part, I handled myself correctly in this situation, and that, hopefully, I don't know what kind of records are had, but I would like to have my record expunged of the suspension, if possible.
Mr. Heron, I'm sorry, I don't want to, I guess I do want to interrupt you just for a minute.
Yeah.
Is he in the right place? Is there anything for us to do on the board?
The Parks Board has the authority to hear appeals of suspensions. So yes, there was not a mechanism in place for him to appeal between the time of the incident and the Parks Board meeting.
All right, thank you. Beg your pardon.
I won't take a lot of your time, I promise. But I believe that you guys have the reports that were written. And I would like just to take some time just to dispute some of the things that were said. The other gentleman involved apparently has been involved in many altercations, or more than a few, from what I understand. I have coached baseball for over 25 years. I have played baseball for 17 years, and I've never been thrown out of a game coaching or playing, okay? I played baseball in college, got a scholarship to college. I've coached high school baseball, freshman, varsity. I understand what competitive baseball is, and I don't consider 8U baseball to be a competitive enough game to get into a fight. So, in my opinion, we've all written our stories, but I believe if you guys look at the umpire's report, I think that's the most accurate report to what happened. It states halfway down the section of behavior causing ejections. It says here, C1 continued yelling and swearing at C2 as both coaches were moving about circling in the dugout. C1 pushed C2 twice again with both hands, striking him in the chest and taking a swing at him. C2 repeatedly backed up. I'm C2. Repeatedly backed up and put his hands in a defensive manner while asking C1 what his problem is. He says, I was able to get in between the two coaches, at which point the other Cubs coaches tried to intervene and stop C1 from continuing his aggressive behavior. I put my arm around C2's shoulder and was able to walk him out of the dugout. And this all started, just so you all know, because in the first inning of a game, I was the third base coach, and I held the pitcher, the other assistant, C1. I held his son up at third base. It was the second batter of the game. The ball was in the infield. By the time he reached third base, I held him. It was the right call. He then began to, he picked up the bat, slammed it into his glove, and began yelling at me that I need to send him. And I told him that I would coach, I'll coach third base. I know how to coach. He then told me, obviously not very well. We kind of went back and forth. And then that was the end of it. I went into the dugout. I didn't say anything to him or anyone else for that matter. I just sat on the dugout, or in the dugout. He then began pacing up and down the fence on the outside of the dugout and started talking to me again. I stood up because he was yelling, so I stood up and walked closer to him, not in a provocative way, but just so that we didn't have to yell. He took it, apparently as I was engaging him, I guess, and he started cussing at me, and before I know it, he's running around in the dugout, and charged at me. And, you know, it was totally unexpected. I have a picture here of the bruise on my chest, okay? As it went, I had every right. I mean, it says in the police officer's report, because there was a police officer there watching his son on the other team, that, you know, I had the right to charge him with assault. I chose not to do that. I could have legally fought back, defended myself, but I chose not to do that. I've been in enough dugouts to know to try to defuse the situation. I'm not an aggressive person. I did exactly what the umpire said. When anyone tried to get in between us, I had my hands up, walking away. And then he continued to push other people out of the way and come back at me. So I don't know what else I could have done. I was trapped in a dugout. I couldn't get out because he was coming from the entrance. And he pushed me. I had my hands up, willing to walk away, and he kept pursuing it. And so unfortunately, I didn't get these reports until a little bit later, so I bombarded the Civitan leaders, Mr. Gilly, Mr. Long, with emails saying I didn't think I deserved the situation until I got my coach's report. And in his report, that one shocked me a little bit, hurt me a little bit, because it said on here that it's Josh Harper's report. He said that he didn't believe that I should be coaching this division. And, you know, I take that very seriously. And I'm a friend of, or I thought I was a friend of Josh's, and I sent him an email, which I have for you guys. I was going to print out stuff for every one of you, but my printer at home ran out of ink. But I have my email to him asking him questions about it and his response. And in his response to my questions, because he's the one who asked me to coach with him, okay, my son was signed up for 6U, and I was signed up to be the coach. He had called me, told me that he thought he was in over his head, and asked me to move my son up and coach with him. So I agreed. So I asked him if he thought that I didn't have the temperament, why he asked me to coach with him. And then after the incident, 3 days after, he called me up and asked me for advice because the other coach's son had a case of the yips and couldn't hit the ball. And so he asked me how to get him better and back on track. So I asked a few questions, asked what he was doing, and I told him what drills to do and how to do it to get him back on track. Because like you guys say, I mean, I could have easily just been like, ask Jason. But to me, it is about the kids. And so I gave him all the advice I had, and we went on. So Josh's email back to me basically said that he regretted putting that in the letter, that I wasn't fit to coach in this division. And I have that for you if any of you would like to see that. And he said that after his report, he talked to Sheldon a couple days after that, and he said that he did want me back to coach. And apparently at that point, you know, the damage was done, and the Parks, you know, overruled it. So he did agree that he was just angry at the time, and I think that he was trying to cover his own rear end in this whole situation and threw me under the bus doing it. Because I have zero history of this type of behavior.
Okay.
So anyway, I just would like to know if I'm going to get suspended and have a suspension like this come down, how any one of you would prefer I handle the situation. Because I tried to diffuse the situation by not fighting back. The police officer asked me if I wanted to press charges. I wanted to wipe this thing under the rug for me and the baseball league. And, you know, I feel like I've handled myself correctly in this
For
situation.
the record, what is your suspension?
It was basically the end of the season.
Okay, is the season not over now?
It is,
Okay.
but I have an email on record showing that I have the suspension because, and I'm assuming it's because of the behavior, but I was prepared to accept the 1-game suspension.
Okay.
Didn't understand why I was getting suspended for the 2 weeks until I read the head coach's report, and then I understood it.
Okay.
But I just want, I want Dallas, Andy, Sheldon, and I think Brian, I want everybody to know that this is not my character. And I feel like my character's been attacked, through Josh's email stating that I'm unfit to coach in this league. And, I just wanted to clear the record and see if that could happen. And then also, in my opinion, I think that this could have been avoided, since this guy had multiple infractions, if, A, he was unable to, I think it was more than 3, if after maybe the 3rd strike or something, he was unable to coach again, or at the very best, or at the very least, I should say, inform one of the coaches so that we could have limited his role on the team. But there was no communication. I feel like Josh and I were the only 2 people that didn't know about Jason Brown's history, and unfortunately, I was at the receiving end of it. And I plan on coaching. My kids are just turned 7 and 5. I plan on being around this community for a long time, coaching baseball. I have a long history of coaching baseball. You're talking about developing players in soccer and stuff. That's what I do. I've held clinics. I've had 5 coaches that have coached me that have had major league affiliation with Major League Baseball. I've been doing lessons, private lessons, since I was 19 years old.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to give my opinion, and I'll let you do this. First and foremost, I trust Civitan to divvy out, and this is my personal opinion, I trust them to police their own. I started a league one time, and that's what I did. I policed my own, and
I'm right there with you.
So we're not. I'm not sure what we can or can't do, but as far as I'm concerned, I mean, what your league director and your head coach say is about it. The one thing that troubles me, and not to read this, is on page 15 of the police report at the very bottom.
Can I grab it? I left that in the file. Can I grab it?
I can read it to you. That's fine. He said both coaches were yelling and cursing at each other. He said both coaches were giving each other jabs about their coaching abilities in the top of the first inning. However, it carried over after the inning ended. The cursing part worries me.
Okay. If you read Josh's report and also the umpire's report, no one heard me cussing.
Okay.
There were jabs thrown. I mean, he told me that I don't coach very well, and I told him he didn't know anything about baseball. He then responded, "Why do I go for champions I win championships?" And I asked him what happened last year, because his team didn't do very well. That was the end of it. And that was the end of it. So I thought I went back to the dugout. I didn't say a word to anybody. I didn't even look at him.
Okay.
And then he started going again. But
well, I'm gonna at this point. Did you have a comment, sir?
Did you raise your voice in the dugout?
I don't believe I raised my voice. No, I didn't.
And was there an opportunity to? He was on the exit side of the dugout. You didn't have an opportunity to move by him.
Well, no, he was on the outside and he was talking to me. And to be honest with you, I assumed that we were just going to continue to talk, right? So he was, he's a loud guy. So he was yelling at me from the outside of the dugout. I was sitting on the bench. I stood up to talk to him. I didn't stand up to provoke him. I didn't stand up, and I wasn't even yelling. The only thing I asked, and he states it, and he states in his sentence that I said, that I was swearing, but I never swore. The head coach didn't say, said that he didn't hear me swear, and there's nothing in the umpire's statement that he heard me swear.
Okay. My thought is, I cannot get past the picture of this happening in front of 7-year-olds.
I'm right there with you.
At some point, right or wrong.
Can I ask you a question? Because there is an apples to apples comparison of how this was handled, okay? Because 4 games before, remember, this was all because in the first inning of a game, second batter, I held a runner up at third base and he lost it, right? So 4 or 5 games prior to this, I was pitching, he was coaching third base, and we were 1 run from mercying a team. We had a runner on third. Guy hits the ball, he holds the runner. Goes on for, I think, 4 more batters, maybe 4 more batters. We didn't end up scoring the run. We didn't end up mercying the team. I was walking back into the dugout, and I simply just looked at him, and I said, why were we holding the runner? And he goes...
You guys are missing the point.
No.
It's not about the score.
That's my point. I did not raise my voice. I didn't raise anything. I was wondering why. I mean, a genuine ask why we're holding the runner. He told me because he was trying to get kids at bats. I thought it was silly. I left it. I didn't say another word. Okay. So and then this happens because of the same situation.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, question: were you ejected by the umpire?
I was.
Automatic 1-game suspension.
Yes.
That's universal.
Yes.
I've taken it myself.
Yes, I was happy to accept, or not happy to accept it, but I was
seem
willing to
proud
accept
of
it.
No, only one time in my life.
I'm kidding.
But it happens. We all, secondly, one person's opinion about you being a coach doesn't make whether you can coach again or not. And I personally believe if you came down and you wanted to be part of Civitan baseball and you wanted to be on the committee next year and you wanted to be a coach and you wanted to join Civitan, that you'd be welcome with open arms.
Well, thank you.
Okay? I firmly believe that. We need more people like you if you have the ability that you say you have. You made a mistake, you got heated, you suffer the consequences. I don't think I've not heard one single bad thing about you. I spend 40 hours a week in the ballpark after working 50 every weekend, and I've never heard your name mentioned once negatively. I'm in there every night, never heard anything negative said about you. I happened to be in the park the night the incident happened, and quite frankly, most everybody said you were doing the right thing. I couldn't find anybody that said you didn't do the right thing. Did I actually witness it? No, but heard a lot of right about after it, and was right at the field when it happened because I came over. Secondly, I think we should suspend the rules and let Brian talk as well to represent Civitan for a minute. But I don't think there's really an issue in my personal opinion, that you need to clear your name. You've obviously done that tonight, stating your fact. The suspension was 1 game automatically. That happens to everybody if you get ejected, even if he's umping because he's an umpire. If I tell him something, he could have a bad day. I tell him, old gray-head guy, whatever, he could throw me out, I'm cutting up with him. But and I've seen that happen too. So, but you have to have a punishment.
No, I understand. And it wasn't the 1 game that I had issue with.
I think you wasn't allowed to coach the rest of the season, but you were more than welcome to come watch your kids play and do whatever else in the park and sit there. You just couldn't be in the dugout.
Yeah.
And I think that personally is appropriate because it takes 2 parties to tango. No matter if you're being the person to say, hey, there was still stuff that went on in the field between the 2 of you back and forth, jabbing, whatever it may be. And that always leads in my work that I do. Every time I have a problem with 2 employees at work, it's because one of them said something about the other one, and then somebody said something about the other one, and eventually, before it gets over with, somebody gets heated.
Yeah,
and there may be a little difference in yours because I understand that. The other gentleman, we're not here to attack him or say anything negative about him. His punishment was doled out, and I believe it's a lot harsher than what you received.
I understand, but I just didn't want to be in the same category as him.
I don't think
because
you're anywhere near it, sir.
Thank you. Because there's
I personally believe that you're nowhere close to it. You're not even in the same zip code.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Bennett?
Yeah, I think what happened, and I coach in Civitan as well, you got guys over here that run the league very well and
I agree.
know what they're doing. You know, you poke the bear, unfortunately. When you get out there with a guy like that, things get heated, it happens. And so I think when that does happen, you did the right thing. You put your hands up, things escalated, you got ejected, and I think that's it. I don't think anybody in here thinks that, anything you did was wrong. I think, biggest thing is next time when you're out there coaching, just be supportive, and if the guy's acting crazy, just back away, like you did.
I mean, yeah,
Like
I mean-
you do. But I don't think you did anything wrong, my friend.
All right.
And if it's up to
Couple
them
of,
next year, if you need to coach again, go through the procedures. I trust them explicitly.
Okay, I appreciate it.
A couple of years ago, I forgot my wife's birthday, and so I was able to come to this meeting and apologize to her on TV.
There you go.
This is the same way you are right now. It's just you didn't forget her birthday.
That's
so
right.
I
I
believe
was
you
in
as
that much
well,
trouble.
and I think they police their area as well, and we've heard your case, and I think you vindicated yourself very well.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Oh, 1 second.
This is more for everybody who's watching this than it is for you, because I agree with everything they're saying. Things happen. I played softball 30 years. It's not with kids, but we act like a bunch of kids sometimes. This is more for, I agree with PA of, sometimes we miss the point. The point is the point is not what coach is right and what they're doing is right. The point is 6 and 7-year-olds don't need to see that.
I agree, 100%, and that's why I didn't fight
There'll be
back.
plenty of time for them to learn that lesson when they get old enough to know what it is.
I agree, 100%.
But like I said, this is more for everybody out there than it is for you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be quick, I promise. 'Cause
Go right ahead.
I know everybody's ready to go home. I want to say that Mr. Herron has been ultimately professional in the way he's addressed us. I appreciate that. He might not have understood why I did what I did.
I didn't until I got the report.
In my opinion, I just felt it was best for everybody to just remove all the parties from the situation for the rest of that season. And then I will tell you right now, like they've said, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to come back and do whatever you need to do. And we do need, I'm speaking as a baseball person, we need all we can get. And I want you to know that I appreciate the way you've handled yourself.
Thank you. Thanks for all your help.
I do think it's unfortunate what happened. We've had a little string of things that have gone on, and we've got to control it. I do want Mr. Whitaker to come up, Mr. Chairman, and there's one thing I want to make clear that he said why we didn't know the other guy shouldn't have been coaching. If you don't mind.
That's fine. So moved.
Real quick while he's coming up, I just want, as I'm going to repeat what Andy said, we're going to need you as a coach, and I'm going to need you this fall if you're signing up.
Yeah,
so,
I am, so thank you.
All right.
And if you know anything about basketball, I know a league, there'll be any basketball coaches too.
I'll
On
suspend
my
the
8th
rules
grade
for
basketball
Mr.
team,
Whitaker.
there was an A team, a B team, and I was the only kid on the C team, so I don't think you want me coaching basketball. Thank you.
No problem.
I want to make sure that the guys with the Civitan were extremely helpful in gathering information for us in a timely manner. We're not going to use names. We're just going to say that the other coach in question here had a history that our staff was not aware of, and I want Mr. Whitaker to explain why we were not aware of that.
Thank you. Essentially, we'll refer to this gentleman as C1, as it's reported by the umpires. He has received suspensions, but not in baseball. It was in another league that we do run, that's tackle football and flag football. Previous administration wanted us to handle it internally without them. Mr. Gilley has a different set of rules, which is fine. We don't have any problem with those, in that we deal with the Parks Department when there is an ejection, no matter what league we're running. So that is why the Parks Department was not aware of what had happened to this gentleman before.
Very nice.
That'd be all.
Hey, I do have one question. So just future knowledge, and I'm not sure, maybe it's not known for the coaches. What's proper protocol if you want to appeal a suspension?
The first thing you would do is come to the general meeting and ask to appeal the suspension. Bring your information just like is done here. Then the membership can vote on that to appeal a suspension or keep it. And then it goes to our board of directors to approve, disapprove, whatever, that type of thing.
That's a suspension from Civitan, but if you get a suspension from the Parks Department, this is the place to come appeal it.
Correct.
But there is, if it's not an ejection and there's something you get suspended for, rules violation or whatever else, there is a proper protocol inside Civitans too. If you get ejected in the park, you're coming here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. While the rules are suspended, I want to go back to the fourth bullet point under new business on the second motion that was made and we voted on, and it was voted against for failure of a. Technically, I had the tying vote. I could have. Now, I'm going to ask Mr. Bolt over there, since he's been in these more than me. In this circumstance, it was going to be an abstain.
Mr. Gilly's probably in a better position to answer that question than I am, actually.
You're saying your vote was abstained?
Yes, sir.
Then that abstains counts as no.
That's right, yeah.
So the motion would still fail for lack of a majority.
I did not voice that, so thank you.
And you're really not required to vote unless it's a tie.
Well, it
as the
was a
chairman,
tie, so that's what I'm saying.
So your vote was abstained.
All right, no problem there.
By not voting, you automatically abstained.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I learned something kind of new every day, so. All righty, thank you, guys. Okay, under, let's see, for your information, special events list. I'm sure that we can all find that in the back, can we not, Ms. Wise?
Hopefully.
Can you, after the meeting, can you point it out for me, please? All right, Parks Board Committee appointed. I notice we have a gap in there. I notice we have a new member.
Mr. Chairman, we got two things we need to.
Yes, sir.
Actually, three we need to appoint.
Okay.
We have under Athletic Committee, we have an opening where Mr. Richards was. We have a TBA on the Recreation Committee.
Okay.
And a TBA from our maintenance staff. I'll let you all hash out what Parks Board members. I'm going to make a suggestion that you all appoint Mr. Granette, who's not here tonight, to the Maintenance Committee staff.
Okay. Mr. Granette, okay.
We can probably handle all three of these in one.
Motion.
We can probably handle them all in one
all
motion. Yeah.
Okay.
Since he missed the meeting, he gets to be on the committee.
That's how I got to where I am. Might as well, yeah. Athletic Committee, Mr. Zettengren. I'll get it wrong forever. Would you like to fill one of these? We've got a athletic and we've got a recreation.
I would prefer the athletic.
You got
Yes,
it.
I'd like to.
Is that effective, Mr. Gilly? And who would like to be on the board, on the committee with me?
You got to take Bubba Perry down there. He ain't doing nothing.
I think Mr. Perry said he would do that, so.
Motion to approve all three.
Mr. Perry's going to be recreation. Second. Jimmy first.
Jeremy second.
Mr. Bennett second.
Jeremiah.
Let's get.
Okay, James.
It's getting late. It's getting late. Do we have them all filled, Mr.?
I believe that'll take care of it. Yes, sir, Mr.
Thank you
Chairman.
very much, young fella. All right, very briefly, under staff reports, Ms. Hamlin?
Thank you, Mr. Hesson. My Raptors Special Needs Baseball has just finished up. The last this past weekend. Weekend before that, the White House Special Needs League came down. They brought 6 players down, and we paired some of our players up with their players, and we played against each other. Mark McDaniel came down, and he announced them as they batted and everything, and gave out information like what their nickname was and what their favorite color or food was and favorite song, and everybody had a really good time doing that. So we're hoping to make that a thing that we do every season. Raptors Special Needs Kickball registration is going on as we speak. They have, I think, one more week to register. They can register online or in the office. Summer programs, we're still taking registration for the Summer Fantastics program. The Special Needs Kids Club program is completely full with 5 on the waiting list, but we do have some openings in the Summer Fantastics program. And I'm in the process now of hiring for summer program employment for that. I filled out paperwork today for several workers. And if they have questions, they can email me at chamblin@hfieldtn.org for any questions or concerns about the summer programs. Any questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Special Events Program Supervisor, Ms. Wise.
I promise I will be quick.
Okay,
it's
so
past
we'll
my
go on
bedtime,
to
so for real.
I got you back.
The Old Hickory Lake Tournament was held on April 27th. Being that this was the first year for it, there wasn't that much of a turnout, but they're expecting for a greater or more participation next year when they return. As Kendall, Miss Sinks mentioned, Sumner Fest is rescheduled for August 10th, so stay tuned for more information about that. The Hendersonville Soccer Club Spring Festival, that was canceled twice due to bad weather, unfortunately. The ABA Military Fishing Tournament, which was sponsored by the tourism, was a great success. Hendersonville High School Fishing Tournament was on Tuesday, May 7th. The Great Inflatable Race, it was above and beyond our expectations. We had over 1,600 participants, which came all over from Atlanta to Kentucky. So it was a great exposure for Hendersonville. From what I've heard, we received a lot of positive feedback about it. And if you did not do it, you missed out on a great time. It was a lot of fun. The PPG Fishing Tournament was held last Wednesday. Despite some minimal rain, they had a great time. The Senior Women Softball Tournament was this past weekend. That was also sponsored by tourism. Consisted of 29 teams from Ohio to Florida. And then coming up, the Memorial Day Classic 15K, 5K race. And then June is going to be a busy month for us. There's a lot of activities going on. We have a fishing tournament every weekend in June. Raise the Praise is coming back on June 8th. The lacrosse tournament is going to be June 1st. The Old Hickory Lake Triathlon is Sunday, June 30th. The Game 7 World Series is going to be the last week in June with the movie and the park night on Thursday, June 27th. And finally, don't forget about our fishing rodeo on Friday, June 7th and Saturday, June 8th. We do have a lot of new and exciting additions to this event, so I'm looking forward to it. And that's all I.
You must have took a course in speed reading. One question of you, ma'am.
Just one thing, and Andy, you may have to answer this. Being that was really our first big thing out there with how did the parking, maintenance afterwards, or how did all that work out? Ms. Wise, can you answer that for me?
Oh, boy, you made a friend.
I didn't park the cars, but I helped them direct them where to go. It was, considering that many of their volunteers did not show up, they were kind of shorthanded on parking. But we did tell them if they do come back next year that they do need to hire a parking company. They tried to, but no one was available, so.
Was there a lot of maintenance afterwards? Did they tear up a bunch of, yard, grass, anything out there?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No,
Good
they
deal.
were, they got out of there, luckily got out of there right before rain hit, which was important. I think the estimate, judging by the kind of the pictures and things and from talking to them, was about 500 to 600 cars.
Good.
And it was a great event. It was a great event. And our maintenance staff and Andrea really worked hard that day to help them out. They did a great job.
Very nice.
Well, thank you, Ms. Wise, for your excellent job, man.
You're not sucking. God, he doesn't suck up very
I
well.
slid that in.
Does someone have Mr. Gannott's?
I have it, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Maintenance report. This is the first. Irrigation will be running on all the athletic fields starting this week. We've entered into an agreement with the company that maintains the golf course to take care of some of our highlighted athletic fields, to kind of go above and beyond on some of them. We're going to see how it goes on one or two, and we may entertain working with them on multiple fields, kind of take our turf grass to a new level. I think it'll be good. Started Field 1 renovations, as I said earlier, this week, where we were able to take some of the sod that we're cutting out to expand Field 1 down to soccer to put in the goal mouths that were torn. We're going to, even the ones that we don't get to with sod from this field, we're planning on not just sprigging but sodding actual sod this coming year. So hopefully that'll take a little better than just sprigs will. We're working on, have bids out for irrigation expanded on Field 4. That outfield, the irrigation does not cover all of the outfield. So if you go down there and you say, why does left field look so bad? It's because irrigation's not getting to it. So we've got to figure that out. And also we have bids in on lights at the intersections, at the entrance there at Demos coming in for the crosswalks and the intersections. So the maintenance guys are working really, they're overworked, and we're not even really to June, but
Doing a fine
they're doing a
job.
great job. Did you get that? Did you get that?
Can you hold your comments until he finally gets done? Any questions of AKA Granat here? Okay, thank you, sir. Parks Manager, Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Babe Ruth 13, 15-year-old league's ongoing. They got about 3 weeks left. Civitan baseball and flag football will wrap up their seasons this week. Rec soccer is now done for the season. HSC will have an adult league this summer, looking to begin the first week of June for their games. Tennessee Nine's still practicing through the next week, and tonight or this week is their first round of their tryouts, and then their next set of tryouts will be the week of June 3rd. Summer Baseball League practice began this past weekend, and games will begin June 3rd for that. Summer Men's Basketball League's ongoing. They're in week 3 of the season. We're hoping to finalize the High School Open Basketball League this week. Looks like we're going to have a league this year, so hoping to get all that wrapped up and finalized. And fall baseball registration begins June 17th. And then lastly, summer tennis lesson. We still have registrations open for that, and we'll be taking those until probably mid-June. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Questions? Assistant Director, Mr. Bruce.
I'll be short, Mr. Chairman.
You already are.
I just want to say, everybody else has said it, I wanted to say it too.
I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't pass it up.
Fast pitch, the tournament this week, they're finishing up their regular season. The hockey tournament was Saturday. They made a bad situation. They did a good job this season, putting it all back together and having a league and so forth. So really appreciate their effort. Their board members do a lot of work there. So they did a real good job, and they finished up this Saturday. The senior men's league is ongoing. The men's open league is going on about 6-7 weeks now. The co-ed league ongoing, and Mr. Bubba had a guest appearance umpiring on Field 4. If you see the news clips of that, Mr. Bubba was there. Lacrosse is finished up, and kickball is ongoing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Questions? Very nice. Parks Director, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Perry and I will be going in our own hot air balloon at the Sumner Fest.
I will teach you.
We hope to have life jackets, just in case we have to bail out.
Bungee cords.
I want to say thank you publicly to Vol State Bank for sponsoring our movie in the park during the Game 7 World Series. We have one member here who works for Vol State Bank, and one member's wife who is that person's boss at Vol State Bank.
Very nice. We got a name
Yes,
here.
she is both of our bosses.
Yes, she's, Mr. Frank's wife is the boss of Mr. Bennett and Mr. Frank. You will hear discussions coming up in the next month or two, probably. The Public Safety Committee, we took a proposal to them to add security cameras and license tag readers to the entrances at Drakes Creek Memorial and at Volunteer Park and Veterans. And the Public Safety Committee unanimously voted for us to move forward with the help of the police department to take that and ask that be included as a special project in the budget coming up. I don't know that we'll be able to fund everything the first year, but we'll do what we can as we go. But the police department is extremely excited about it because the license tag reader specifically would communicate with other cameras throughout the city. So as if a stolen car or someone they were looking for entered the park, it would alert the police immediately, which would be a help. We've not had the same level of crime in our park yet that the whole city has had, but we've had a few incidences, and we want to try to be proactive. And I think this is one case where we can try to be proactive. Hopefully that is something that we can move forward with. I think it's a big step in safety for everybody. There's a budget workshop tomorrow night for BOMA. I will try to send you all an update if any changes are made to the budget that you all have seen before. The first real vote on the budget will be the next Tuesday night, hopefully before midnight. Over the next month or two, I've asked our staff over the next week or so, we're going to sit down and map out our park and our available space and fields that we have. Just in meeting with the grant people today that I met with for our next big grant project, part of the thing that the state is going to require is long-term planning and even a master plan at some point. We do not have a master plan for our park in the budget. It's not in the budget this year. It's going to have to be at some point if we're going to continue to apply for grants. But what we're going to do as a staff is kind of evaluate our leagues, our numbers, our number of teams, our needs. What do we have for every piece of property that we got? And you could see some moving around of things that hadn't moved in 20 or 30 years. I don't know. I really don't know. There's some places where you can only do certain things. But we've got to take advantage of every square foot of dirt and grass that we've got and put it to the best use as we've gained leagues, and even high schools have added sports that are going to be coming to us to use our facilities. So we've got to get ahead of the game and kind of figure out who needs to go where for the betterment of everybody. And that is all that I think I have. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Question? There better not be. Round table, Mr. Bolt.
Don't have any, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Head.
Just want to tell the Parks Board, great job tonight. A lot of hard decisions. Glad we all voted where we voted, so, we'll figure it out. We'll work together, but great job. And Cindy, I think somebody in the Flag Football League would love to start a Raptors League and wants to get a hold of you if you haven't called him yet. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Head. Mr. White. Mr. Sittenbrand. I'm going to call you Z. I'm sorry.
No.
Said something. Mr. Frank. Thank you.
I'll be short, like I always am. I'd like to welcome Zach to the board. I've known Zach for a long time, great addition to our board. I also like to congratulate Hendersonville High School Soccer and Station Camp Soccer for great seasons. Most of them probably products of our parks, so that's something for our group and our area to be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Frank. Come on. God, you've never done that. Mr. Bowler.
It's been a long meeting, but I do have a couple things to say. And I'll be very brief. It's we love to recognize excellence, right? And we should, because the amount of effort, the dedication it takes to be excellent, it ought to be recognized. Right? It just should. We take our state champions and we bring them before our city leaders, and we applaud them. But the real measure of success is not the wins and losses, right? If your player had a good time, he learned something, and he wants to come back and play next season, that's a success. If that player continues to grow and experience joy in the sport that he wants to pass on, or she wants to pass on an experience with their children, oh my God, that's a success. Right? I don't want us to lose sight.
Very well put. Very well put. Mr. Perry?
Yeah, I'm going to be short because I'm a little bit wider than everybody.
Hey,
Just a real quick congratulations to the Tennessee Stars women's senior team won the Twitty this weekend up here.
Yes,
Strong bunch, strong tournament. Good job, guys. It was awesome. That's it.
very nice. That's more than you've said the whole time you've been here.
It's dinner time.
Real quick, I think the meeting tonight shows everybody why people are on this board. We've got people on this board that touch everything in the park, and we've got people like myself that don't know a thing in the world about soccer, but that's why we go to other people. And when I get the people that don't, I mean, everybody up here is here for a reason, and they've been whoever nominated every single person on here did their job, because everybody here contributes, and I for one appreciate it. So that's all I got to say. Motion to adjourn. Mr. Pike first, Mr. Frank second. All in favor say aye. We're out of here.